To get the upper shell off, you start with the screws. There are smaller screws on the outside, right there, and then you take out those two, and then the one by the landing gear. You do that for all four sides. Alright, pretty much in my very first video is me repairing a crash. I was outside flying probably about 7 feet, and a gust of wind came and took me out of the sky. Now you're probably thinking, maybe 7 feet, why am I repairing this thing? Well, the way it landed was very unique. When it came down like this, these propellers stuck in the ground. So the quadcopter was literally sitting like this, suspended above the ground, with these basically impaled into the ground, causing it to break right here. And only the top shell. So that's a bummer. Knowing my luck, it would crash in a very crazy way. The screws by the landing gear are a little awkward to get off. I mean, you can take the landing gear off, but that's kind of a pain in the butt too. Basically, just do that for all four sides. Now, this is where I noticed one of the little standoffs inside were actually broke, which was kind of a pain in the butt. But this next clip will show you what I'm talking about. Alright. Now this little dome area, the Cheerson CX-20 ships two different ways. Mine in the dome is the compass, but others ship with a GPS actually inside there. Don't forget to remove that red cable. Yep, see there's a crack. Now I already fixed a crack using a 2-part epoxy. Applied it on both sides. Yep, see, it's broke off. That part I pulled off is actually supposed to be in the lower part. Nothing special, got it from Dollar General. Mini Instant Mix. Yep, see, there it is right there. That's the piece I had to put back on. Using a toothpick to mix the 2-part epoxy. Now, putting this piece back on was a little tricky. It probably took me about 10 minutes just to get it lined up right. When plastic breaks, normally you could put it back on where it broke off. Luckily it only broke one though. Alright, that right there is a GPS and the receiver. They basically just double sticked the GPS on top of the receiver. And later on in the video, actually, I'm going to relocate the GPS to a much better spot. And that is the flight controller. Now all these pieces are double-sided sticky tape down. Now, when the first time I opened up my Cheerson CX-20, the flight controller and the receiver wasn't even stuck down at all. It was just sitting there. That's how it was. You can barely, it wasn't even pushed down. So yeah, you can imagine how my first flight was with it just flopping in the breeze like that. And right there is where I'm going to put the GPS unit, right there in that little dome area. Now they do have a zip tie going around the GPS unit, which is a little bit overkill because this double-sided sticky tape is no joke. Now I'm taking off the zip tie that goes around the wire that's attached to the ESC wire. What am I doing now? Now I have a knife. Now I'm trying to figure out the best way to get the GPS unit off the receiver. Because again, that double-sided sticky tape was pretty tough. There you go. There's a GPS receiver right there. Now it's plenty long enough to reach wherever it needs to go. Since we took it off the receiver and we're going to stick it to the dome area, it still has to face up. Instead of being stuck down, you actually have to put a double-sided sticky tape on top of it, so that way it could be sitting up here on the dome. Oh, during the crash when it did land, this prop actually did bend. These are 9-inch carbon fiber props, incredibly strong. They're a lot better than these that came with it. The stock propellers are very horrible, so the carbon fiber ones are a lot better. Very strong, but it was bent, so I actually had to bend it back straight. There you go, just like that. And it's probably not going to make a difference with it being up there like that, but at least it's going to be away from the receiver possibly any interference or anything like that. It just seems like a better spot to put it. Now when you do pull this thing out, remember the black wire goes to my left. When I actually pulled it out, I had to go back and look at previous pictures I took of it, because I pulled it out and I didn't pay attention to what colors went where. But I do know the black wire goes to the left side of the quadcopter from the rear. Just making sure that everything's gonna work. Perfect. 10 out of 10. Now on top of the flight controller there's a transparent little square. Just under that little square is the barometer. That actually senses how high or low the quadcopter is. The GPS just tells the quadcopter where it's at, orientation wise, and apparently if light gets to the sensor it will affect it. So basically right now I'm just taking some masking tape and I'm going to dig for a piece of plastic to cover up that transparent little square. Will it actually improve anything? I have no clue. But I'm just doing it anyway. There, maybe no light will get through it. Again, will it affect it? Actually, I have no clue. Now this is where I'm going to link in the, that's the receiver right there, and those gray wires, hopefully you can see that, are the antenna wires. Now they have the receiver going in the same orientation as the flight controller. So I pulled the receiver off, and it's actually going to go sideways, so that way both those antenna wires can actually come out equal lengths. Both the antenna wires are a lot longer than one being short and then one being longer. At least now it can come down full length on either side and get better reception. I'm going to talk about this landing gear in another video. It's okay for the receiver to go sideways. It doesn't have to be in the same orientation as the flight controller, because I'm pretty sure you're probably wondering about that right now. Now, the flight controller has to be facing forward. The flight controller has to go a certain direction because the gyros, the accelerometer, barometer, all the good stuff. But the receiver can pretty much be placed anywhere. It doesn't matter. There you go, just like that. Now it can come down through both holes equally. Now obviously in order to do this you got to take off the landing gear on one side. That's why I'm using my multimeter as a stand, just in case you haven't figured it out. Alright, there's a shot of the masking tape, briefly. Now, there's a USB cable in here that goes to the bottom. That attaches to right there. The reason why I removed the USB cable is because you'll never need it. Now, I guess you can supply 5 volts of power through it, but like I said, there's already auxiliary ports on the quadcopter already, so there's no need, no reason why you would have to have it. And you're not going to reflash the board, because apparently if you do, you got to load hex files and all that stupid stuff. So that was part 1 of repairing the quadcopter and doing mods.